The worst case scenario is upon us. Captain America is the supreme leader of Hydra. In one massive preemptive move, he has isolated or incapacitated Earth's most powerful heroes in space, has isolated a large number of heroes in New York, and has the entire planet on lockdown. He is in position to invade Washington, D.C. with all the resources of S.H.I.E.L.D. The only thing that is harder to imagine than how this whole situation came to pass is how we're gonna get out of it. I'm Walt, the most gangster nerd on YouTube, and I'm telling you how Captain America and the Secret Empire will fall. So first off, to know where you're going, it's always best to know where you've been. Prior to Time Runs Out and Secret Wars, the Super Soldier Serum had worn off in Steve Rogers, much in the same way the Infinity Serum had worn off in Nick Fury. So he passed the mantle of Captain America on to Sam Wilson the Falcon and took over as head of S.H.I.E.L.D. As Time Runs Out concluded and we went into Secret Wars, we didn't see much of Steve Rogers. After the launch of All New, All Different Marvel, Steve was back as an old man. He then started the Unity Squad, or as I like to call it, the Uncanny Avengers, which is a team made up of Inhumans, mutants, and Johnny Storm, and was funded by Deadpool and the very short-lived Mercs for Money. And then there was Pleasant Hill. Long story short, Maria Hill had villains imprisoned in a location and basically lobotomized them into submission. During the events, we find out about the Cosmic Cube becoming sentient, which all Cosmic Cubes seem to do. It becomes a little girl named Kobik, and unfortunately, Kobik likes the Red Skull and wants to do things for him. She shows that she can completely change reality for an individual to suit any purpose, as she changes Dr. Selvig into a lifelong Hydra scientist, even though he's never been part of Hydra. She also does this with one Steve Rogers, not only changing him into his younger self, but also rewriting his history. So, throughout Captain America Steve Rogers, we get a simultaneous showing of Captain America in the present, while also having his new history fleshed out. It's at the end of issue 1 where we see that the new Captain America is not only still a walking ass-kicking, as he thwarts a terrorist attack, or attempts to, he's also a new breed of heartless evil. We see him kill his sort of sidekick, Jack Flag, and we then see the now iconic panel of Captain America saying Hail Hydra. Now while seeing this, we also get introduced to a new history, that Steve Rogers was separated from his parents at a very young age, his father murdered, and he presumed his mother dead after witnessing Eliza Sinclair's henchmen striking her down. As it turns out, Eliza Sinclair is in fact Madam Hydra, which came as a surprise to a lot of people, since Eliza Sinclair has always been depicted in red. She must have been the Red Skull, but this is not the case. But moving on, we see that Steve Rogers is in fact raised and educated in the Keep, a Hydra Academy. He is educated by Professor Feinhoff, among others. He runs across and is inspired by the Kraken, Daniel Whitehall, and he becomes best friends with Helmut Zemo. Now the underpinning to Steve Rogers is still present. He's still sickly, frail, and weak, which leads to Professor Feinhoff even recommending he be euthanized. But Steve also has the stick-to-itness, and in time is selected for a mission in America. He will assassinate Dr. Abraham Erskine, which he does attempt and is about to do when we witness Helmut Zemo actually take the killing shot. As a result of this, Steve is actually selected to be the test subject for the Super Soldier Serum, and is introduced to Artem Zola, who actually administers the serum. After this, Steve is a super-powered double agent. He fights the Nazis in Hydra, while at the same time giving Hydra all the Allied secrets he can. This continues all the way to the end of the war, when we see Steve and Eliza together again, where they go to the Keep, where Steve was raised and trained. Steve is very upset in this scene, as he speaks how displeased he is with the Red Skull taking over Hydra, and that Hydra is in a state of ruin. It's at this point we find out that Steve's mother had not died, and Steve is at last reunited with his mother. As it turns out, for just one night, he has one more mission. He will free Helmut Zemo and then rendezvous with the Kraken. He is taken to the birthplace of Hydra, and it's explained that the Allies are about to use a new wonder weapon called a cosmic cube, which was unheard of at the time, to rewrite history. And he is told his friends will believe themselves his enemies, and his enemies his friends. But in time, another cosmic cube will set things right. And then he is frozen. Now, Steve Rogers in the current day is evil incarnate. So secretive and manipulative and cunning, he is responsible for just about every single calamity and tragedy in Marvel since and including Civil War II. Not to mention certain acts that he may not have pulled off, but still illustrate how far he has moved from what he once was. Starting off with just the cold-blooded murder of Jack Flag, we also see that it was Cap that sent information to Bruce Banner on how to rid himself of the Hulk, which subsequently led to his death. He also managed to keep Tony Stark off his game through questioning his sobriety, which only made the hero less capable, while instigating the fight at the same time between Tony and Carol Danvers in a very subtle way. Also, we find out that after the Celestial attack on Earth, at the after party at the Avengers Tower, Captain America planted a bomb to kill all the heroes in one fell swoop, but ruled against it once he found out about Ulysses, the new Inhuman that could sorta predict the future. This would present a problem for Steve. He does attempt to assassinate Ulysses, but at the last possible second, Tony Stark sneaks in, not noticing Steve, and kidnaps Ulysses, inadvertently saving his life. It's not too long after this, in Captain America Sam Wilson, that during a major battle with Ultimatum, Steve Rogers is able to keep Sam Wilson off his balance to such a point that when Sam Wilson throws his shield at Flag Smasher to keep him from executing Senator Tom Harold, he misses, thus getting the senator executed. Fast forward again to the trial of Maria Hill, and we see that Minister Dalton, whom I think would have ruled in favor of Maria Hill to stay on as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. even in the aftermath of Pleasant Hill, is with Steve Rogers. Steve reveals that he knows about a shady business deal that involves the minister and unfortunately the cult of the Darkhold. Steve is in fact pretty much just fed the minister to the cult, as we find out about the minister's death later during the trial. And to add to all of this, we find out that Steve has somehow managed to capture a Chitauri queen, which of course has brought on the full wrath of the Chitauri, who have sent a massive invasion force. This is the reason Maria Hill and Captain Marvel have both pushed so hard to have a gigantic shield placed around Earth, letting no one in or out without express consent of S.H.I.E.L.D. After the events in Uncanny Avengers number 22, where we see that the Avengers were able to remove the brain of Charles Xavier from the Red Skull, and we move into Captain America number 15, we see that Steve Rogers has had the Red Skull brought to his old mansion, where Steve will brutally beat the Red Skull and then throw him out of a window to his death, cementing Steve as the supreme leader of Hydra. And the icing on the cake, that after Maria Hill is ousted, Steve Rogers himself is put in as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now it's important to remember that while all this was going on, Madam Hydra was able to rebuild the Hydra High Council, and Helmut Zemo recruited a large number of villains to work with them. So moving into Secret Empire Zero, we see Captain America systematically and preemptively strike in such a way that it's going to be damn near impossible to beat him. Hydra has brainwashed all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. using the abilities of Dr. Faustus. Simultaneously, Steve launched and established the S.H.I.E.L.D. around Earth, in time to destroy the Chitauri invasion force and trap a large number of the most powerful heroes outside of the S.H.I.E.L.D., including but not limited to Hyperion, Captain Marvel, the Ultimates, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it even got Quasar killed. All this to ensure that they were out of the way. While this went on, he had all the villains recruited by Zemo attack Manhattan, drawing out a large number of the other heroes, including but not limited to Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, and others. We see them fight with the likes of MODOK, Nitro, and even Kraven the Hunter. During this fight, we see Zemo and Blackout use Darkhold magic to isolate Manhattan and in effect all the heroes who responded. Captain America is now in effect the man in charge. Nothing is getting to Earth or away from it without his approval. Most of the superpowered individuals have been taken down or out, and Steve is perched ready to invade Washington, D.C. It is crazy how impossible these odds are, but there is still hope. Maria Hill is aware that Captain America Steve Rogers is Hydra now. Her first attempt to warn someone was Rick Jones, who Steve barely got to in time. He reminded Rick of some of Maria Hill's past fiascos. Once Rick Jones was reminded of this, there was nothing to worry about. He transferred the security codes to Steve Rogers for the shield around the planet and was immediately incapacitated by the Black Ant. Now at this point, Maria Hill is still out there, on the run from Hydra agents, but still out there. She is incredibly intelligent and resourceful. And even though she has no powers or special abilities, it's important to remember how badass she is and can be. She has an ally, the infamous Iron Man, Victor Von Doom. Marvel has made it a point to draw attention to this. In infamous Iron Man number 6, we see Sharon Carter attempt to arrest Doom, to which Doom replies, "I only speak to Director Hill." To explain this, Victor Von Doom saved Maria Hill from Diablo earlier in infamous Iron Man, and then one day just appeared on the same helicarrier as the Director, trying to find out where Ben Grimm the Thing was. Victor Von Doom is currently seeking redemption and trying to prove he's genuinely good. It would be an awesome battle of duality, as perhaps the greatest good guy has now become evil and the most evil villain has now become good. Also, something to keep in mind is that Nick Fury has been in hiding and presumed dead since Civil War II, choosing sides number 1. Personally, I do not think of it as a coincidence that a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents attempted to assassinate him while he was investigating a Hydra cell. And if there's one thing to always remember about Nick Fury, he's always aware of what's going on, and is usually the first one with a plan. It wouldn't be a long bet that he has been observing these events the entire time, from Civil War II until... Along with these two, Agent Coulson has also opened an investigation into Captain America. In Deadpool number 27, Agent Coulson witnessed Captain America use Deadpool as a torpedo. Deadpool first impales one enemy, and then turns the other into Swiss cheese with an assault rifle after hearing Captain America yell out "gun." Coulson knew the enemies were not armed, and upon reaching the scene at first says he's not. Captain America says he's not what? Coulson replies he's not going to be a problem, putting on his best poker face. So we have the possibility of 3 highly trained S.H.I.E.L.D. agents linking up together with Victor Von Doom. Also, the champions are still out there, and so is Ironheart and an Iron Man suit with an artificial intelligent Tony Stark. And it is imperative to remember that Ulysses foreseen Miles Morales either holding a dead Captain America or killing Captain America. Either one is a distinct possibility. What could happen is the fall of Washington, D.C., and Captain America rising to control the planet. The few agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still out there could coordinate with the champions and Victor Von Doom, culminating in an epic final battle between Victor Von Doom and Captain America Steve Rogers. Somewhere in there during this battle, Victor Von Doom will either land the death blow on Steve and then Miles will pick up the body, or during the battle Doom will be incapacitated and Miles Morales will step up and take the fight to Steve and land the final blow. Anyway this goes, it's not gonna be pretty. Now this video was made after Secret Empire number 0. I'm not saying this is what should happen or will happen, it just seems very likely. What I want to know is, do you agree? Disagree? Do you have an alternate theory? Let me know it in the comments. I'm Walt, the most gangsta nerd on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.